Hello, I am a woman in my late 30s. These days it is common to wish for blessings with the popular phrase, cheers to your awesome adventure. I really feel like I am having an adventure every day. I operate a retail plant nursery. Just a few years ago I was diagnosed with terminal blood cancer and given only 3 months to live. I had given up on living, but who knew that I could completely recover and be on an adventure? The saying that joy comes after suffering certainly applied to my case. So I will tell you my miraculous life story. The destiny of my life was decided when I was in 9th grade one summer. I woke up at dawn to go to the bathroom and saw my dad, who was getting ready to go to work for a change. At that time, my dad ran a watch factory which mainly exported but had closed due to lack of orders. Fortunately, he secured a big contract again, so he was able to reopen his factory. My dad was so excited that he even skipped breakfast and was getting ready to go to work so early in the morning. Watching him, I also felt excited for him. Then he told me, "Joyce, your dad won't give up. Once this contract is concluded, our family won't have to suffer anymore. I can send you to that private school you wanted to attend too. So don't worry and just study hard. I will be behind you all the way, okay?" Do you trust your dad? It had been a long time since I saw my dad smiling so brightly, and that was the last time. My dad, who left for work even before the sunrise, came back to us as a cold corpse by that evening. It was a heart attack. We lost our dad overnight suddenly, and got into a huge debt that was left behind. As a 15-year-old girl, my bold dream to become a diplomat and travel the world disappeared in one day. Everything changed since that day. My mom, who never worked except as a full-time homemaker under the protective care of my dad, had to become the head of the household with a huge debt and raise 3 children, all alone. My older brother, who was in high school, had to bear the weight of being the man in the house. I also gave up going to private school and enrolled in a technical high school to learn job skills, because I had to earn money to help out my family as soon as possible. My homeroom teacher felt sorry for me over my decision. "Joyce, I know how much difficulty your family is facing right now, but do you really have to do this? If it's difficult to enroll at a private prep school, why don't you just go to that public high school that has a magnet program for smart students like you? You rank first in the whole school, so I can't bear to see you give up your college and enroll at a technical high school. Even though it's hard now, think of your future. Then you shouldn't take that path. I'll try to talk to your mother." To be honest, I wavered a little at my teacher's words. I also wanted to go to college. That day, my homeroom teacher came to our house to meet my mom. Of course, I don't feel good about the decision. As a mother, who would want to cut off the potential of a blooming flower when it concerns my daughter's future? But we are helpless right now. Joyce just has to accept her fate as a reality. Thank you for your concern, but please don't confuse her. My mom sent my homeroom teacher back, and she called me in and said, "Don't feel sorry." In the olden days, it was customary for the oldest daughter in the household to take care of the family. First of all, let's send your brother to college. You have to accept the financial mess we are facing. We can't send both of you to college. You can go to college later, so please help me. I am having a hard time all by myself. When I saw my mom sobbing in front of me, I decided I should give up any unattainable dreams from now on. When trying to survive each day was overwhelming itself, I wondered how I could think of the future or any dreams. I went to a technical high school and received a scholarship to obtain NIDA certifications to get a job. Meanwhile, my older brother succeeded in becoming a college student. My dad's debt that had weighed down our family was fortunately taken care of by the bankruptcy court, which also left nothing for us to inherit any money or from my dad's life insurance money. We also lost our family residence and had to leave and move to a rural area into an old apartment. However, we felt lucky to be free from debts. We left our beloved home, and the day we moved, my mom said, "We just have to work a little harder. Our whole family needs to be united so that we can get our house back. We can do it, right?" At that time, I really thought we could do it. My mother also worked as a paid housekeeper to earn money. And my older brother joined the army, so we didn't have to worry about his tuition and college expenses immediately. Above all, when I became a senior in high school, I was able to get a full-time job while getting credits in high school. Besides, by the time I get a full-time job, my brother will be in college. My brother was discharged from the military, and the benefits, including a stipend, helped him attend college. If our family of 4 had lived together like that, I felt that someday our current hardships would be remembered as memories. Because I spoke fluent French and Spanish, I was able to get a job in the accounting department of a trading company. Although I didn't need to use those languages often for my work, I had to redirect calls from buyers in those countries to the marketing department, so my foreign language skills were very helpful. Soon, my older brother went back to college after his discharge from the military, and his veterans benefits helped us financially, making the burden much lighter. Joyce, as your older brother, I'm sorry I couldn't be more helpful to the family, but once I get a job, I will send you to college. Actually, you have much better grades than me, so just hold on until then, okay? My older brother felt guilty accepting money from me while he was in college, and it showed on his face. 3 years later, he got a job at a big corporation right after his graduation, and I was no longer responsible for sending him money. I thought I finally had some breathing room, but then my younger sister got herself into big trouble. What? Pregnant? Are you crazy? Who the hell did that to you? Who is it? My sister had just finished her SAT exam and was working at a family restaurant near our home when she suddenly told me she was pregnant and started crying. She was afraid that if our mom and older brother found out, they would kill her. Her sobbing drove me crazy. But Joyce, I really love him a lot. I want to live with him. Please help me. My younger sister was only 17 years old, and I was shocked when she told me she wanted to marry her 17-year-older manager at work. Not only that, he had no savings, and my sister was willing to start her newlywed life in a tiny old one-room studio with him. As her sister, I was heartbroken, but I couldn't oppose her. Her decision was so firm that I didn't help her. She was stubborn enough to elope with him. In the end, I had to explain the situation to our mom and older brother. My older brother became furious and threatened to report him to the police for statutory rape of a minor. Our mom wept, lamenting that her youngest daughter's future was ruined. Even in the midst of all this, my younger sister held on to me, screaming that she would have her baby and marry the father. Since she was pregnant, what else could we do? As a result, right after my sister's high school graduation ceremony, we started to prepare for her wedding. Her boyfriend did not have any family and lived alone. And because he had no money saved up, we had to pay not only for the wedding, but also for all the things they needed to start their newlywed life, including expenses for the baby. At that time, my older brother had just started working, so he didn't have any financial leeway to help. And my mom was working on a standby call as an independent contractor, so she had no money either. Thus, the responsibility fell on me, and I had to break the installment savings plan I had at the bank to go to college. Even though it meant giving up on my dream, my immature sister was all excited and happy to pick out her wedding dress. When I saw that, I was frankly upset. Do you know how much money that is? I wanted to say, but in front of my younger sister's happy expression, I swallowed my words and couldn't say anything. I was such a fool. After my sister's wedding, I felt empty for a while. Was it because of my shattered dream that my heart was broken? I had lived life so fiercely, but all those pent-up feelings from my struggling life suddenly exploded, and I fell into a deep depression. I didn't want to do anything and had no energy left in my body. My body didn't feel like it was mine, and I thought I would die like this. Then, my close friends at work became worried and gave me a business card to seek counseling. It was a doctor's office started by young doctors, with a group of doctors in family medicine, surgery, and psychiatry. However, it was decorated like a home with the atmosphere of a cafe. Just go for some counseling. If your condition is serious, they can refer you to a specialist, too. You should not only take care of your family, but also yourself. Don't regret it later, okay? After receiving the business card, I thought about it for a while and went there on my day off. As my friend said, it was located in a residential area in an ordinary 2-story house. Even the name on the signboard looked like a cafe. I hesitated and looked around for a while. It was then that someone tapped my shoulder with a finger. I looked back in surprise to find a young man looking and grinning at me. "Go in and have a cup of tea. The coffee here is great." The man led me in when I was still hesitant. The interior had an idyllic atmosphere like a cafe, but the only thing different was that it had no menu. "Is this a cafe?" I thought to myself. It was a doctor's office. "Why? Are you ill by any chance? Tell me your symptoms and I'll help you." In addition to my barista license, I have a license to practice medicine. Suddenly, at the man's light joke, I relaxed, sat on a sofa and started to receive counseling. I would say, rather than counseling, it was more like having a conversation with the man over a cup of coffee. I wasn't sure whether it was because of the comfortable and cozy atmosphere of the doctor's office, or the man's ability to easily lead the conversation, but I was able to share my feelings that I had never talked about to anyone in my life. The consultation that started like that continued every Saturday since then. In the meantime, I became more cheerful than before. I wondered why I didn't know that it was exciting and enjoyable to be able to talk to someone. One day, after about 6 months, the doctor told me, "You don't have to come here anymore." When I heard that, I wasn't happy, but rather sad and empty, so I hesitated without saying anything. Then he said, "However, from now on, meet me outside of this office, not as a doctor and a patient, but as a man and a woman. I want us to date. Do you dislike dating?" "No, I do not dislike it. I mean, I would like that." "But why?" "What do you mean, why?" "It's because I like you, Joyce." When he said he liked me, I felt as if there was a bell chiming in my head. It was a new feeling that I experienced for the first time in my life. I deeply fell for my first love at the end of my 20s. When I finally came to my senses, I felt as if I could not imagine my life without him. So I bought new clothes with my own money that would make me shine, and also got a perm at a beauty shop for the first time in my life. Not for my family, but solely for myself. I was so busy fulfilling my family's financial needs that I could never experience so many things, but I finally was able to do them because of this man. It felt like I was finally living a little bit now. Those happy days continued, and I received a marriage proposal from him. But when I received the marriage proposal, I became worried. I heard that to marry a doctor, the bride has to prepare many things. What things? You're not talking about the outdated custom where the bride prepares a new house, an important car, and a hospital. Are you? I'm sorry, but unfortunately, my parents are not the type to accept gifts. So don't worry unnecessarily. If I were thinking of marrying for money, I would have done it with a girl other than you. I choose a woman with whom I want to spend my life with. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. He knew my situation better than anyone else, and tried not to burden me as much as possible. However, getting married cannot just be based on one's kind consideration. I thought it wasn't much, but I had some savings in the bank that I regularly contributed to, and some emergency money on hand to prepare for the wedding. I was gonna tell my mom about it, but she said, "You came home just in time. Do you have any money?" She explained that my brother was getting married, and she was struggling to find the funds. He was planning to take out a loan, but it would still not be enough to cover all the expenses. She asked me how much money I had. I replied, "Mom, I'm actually planning on getting married too." She was surprised and said, "You don't even have a boyfriend. How could you get married?" I assured her that I wasn't just trying to avoid giving her money for my brother's wedding, but that I had been dating someone. It was the doctor from the counseling office I had been going to. He had asked me to marry him and wanted to meet my mom to discuss it. My mom was skeptical and asked, "A doctor? Is there something wrong with you?" She was worried about our financial situation and how we could afford a doctor as a son-in-law. I tried to reassure her that his family was not traditional and wouldn't demand expensive wedding customs. She asked, "What do you know? Would they ask you to buy things directly?" I was frustrated with her ignorance and explained that I was already overwhelmed with my brother's wedding, and we could talk about my marriage later. I also reminded her that there is an order in marriage, and my brother was in a hurry to get married. I added, "Plus, people will talk if we have 2 weddings in 1 year. So please, let me keep the money I have for my own wedding." my mom reluctantly agreed and said, "Fine, we'll have to marry off your brother first." Unfortunately, because my brother's wedding was happening at the same time as mine, my wedding had to be postponed. But the bigger issue was money. After giving all my savings to my brother's wedding, I would have nothing left for my own. I couldn't afford to delay my marriage, but I also couldn't afford to pay for the wedding. I explained this to my mom, but she said she couldn't give me any money this time. My brother then stepped in and said, "Joyce, I'm in a hurry too. I had to take out a loan for our new home, and I've used up all my savings. All I have left is $1,000. Let me get married first, and when you get married, I'll pay you back. I will pay you back with interest. Please rescue me for this once. Do you promise? If I don't have this money, I really can't get married. I trust you." In the end, my brother took even his sister's savings for her wedding, just so he could get married. Because of that, my wedding was pushed back. Then one day, I couldn't digest well, and my coughing got worse. So during lunchtime, I went to a hospital near my work. Then, did you often have anemia and get black and blue marks on your skin? Yes, my legs would get swollen, and I became nauseous and threw up pretty badly. The doctor recommended that I go to a bigger hospital to be tested. I thought it was just a simple cold, but when the doctor told me to get tested, I suddenly felt scared. A few days later, I got a day off from work and got tested at a university hospital nearby. What? I have blood cancer? Then what would happen to me? Why did you let the disease get worse? There must have been some symptoms. The doctor said the best procedure for me was to remove my hematopoietic stem cells and transplant them with healthy cells. But the odds that the blood cell antigens would match were too slim to bet on. He told me to start with chemotherapy first, but I told him I would come back after discussing it with my family and left the hospital. On that day, the sky was exceptionally clear, but I was so resentful of that. Here I was dying, but the world seemed as if there was nothing wrong. I had just found a man to love, but why did I get this kind of disease at a time like this? So I became angry. My resentful feelings overcame me, because I didn't understand why my life was always like this, dragging me down. I felt like I shouldn't have even been born. I sobbed like a mad woman and just walked for a long time. While walking like that, I was able to somewhat organize my thoughts. What should I do from now on? I decided to tell my family first and begin my treatment. The treatment would cost a lot of money, so I needed to get my money back from my brother, whom I had lent money to when he got married. However, my brother said, "Of course I'm heartbroken too. My younger sister has cancer, so why wouldn't I?" However, "Joyce, if you suddenly ask for the money, how could I come up with such a large sum? In fact, your sister-in-law is pregnant, so we are overwhelmed trying to prepare for the baby. Couldn't you take care of it with your pension money? You would have to quit working since you have cancer. You worked for your company for about 10 years, right? Then you would have the retirement money that you have accumulated so far, right? For now, why don't you use that money?" Eddie, how could you say that? How much have I helped you with money so far? How could you tell me to quit work and use my pension to get my treatment, rather than trying to comfort me? Are you a human being? You're such a bastard. Hey, how dare you call your older brother a bastard? Okay, I will be a bastard then. Whether you live or die, don't you ever contact me. Got that? I didn't help my brother wanting some compensation, but when my brother acted so heartlessly, I regretted spending all the money and time I spent on him. I was furious at myself for trusting my brother when he was such a selfish and ungrateful person. So, I called my younger sister to be comforted about it, but she said, "I heard from Eddie that you have blood cancer, right? But did you call me to ask for the money you gave me for my wedding? If so, I can't. You know that my husband is unemployed. I'm completely broke. And the money you gave me, wasn't it to make yourself feel better? While you helped our family, you must have felt proud of it, right? So if you got the satisfaction from doing it, didn't you do it for yourself? Just be cool and consider that you donated it." What? Be cool and donate? Do you know what money that was? It was money that I saved so hard. I even walked to save the bus fares, and I did not rest on my off days to do extra work, and saved so that I could go to college. How could you say that when you gulped up even my future and tell me to be cool and forget about it? You bitch. I didn't even expect you from the start. I was the stupid and crazy one to care for you when you were nothing but a selfish bitch like you. I should not have even called. Otherwise, my heart wouldn't be torn to pieces like this. I broke down completely when I realized that the cancerous things weren't the cancer cells in my body, but my family members. When I came home, my mom made a pot of vegetable soup. I heard that these vegetables cleanse of the blood. You have blood cancer or whatever, right? That's all because of the impurities in the blood. I made a pot of it, so eat it all up and get better. How could I not know that you sacrificed yourself for the family? Still, Joyce, it's not okay if you're thinking to be paid back by your brother and sister. What a predicament your brother must be in to tell you that he cannot give back the money. That, please try to be understanding. Like your brother said, just get your pension money out to start your treatment. I heard that nursing hospices these days have great facilities, so don't expect your own mother. I expect your old mother to nurse you, but get treatments from there. Wouldn't that be more comfortable for you? Mom, in the end, was it your intention? You can't nurse your sick daughter, so if I'm sick, I should be admitted into a nursing hospice. Give up the money I lent to my brother, give up the money I gave to my sister, and get the money by myself. And get the treatment by myself. How could all of you be like that? I have been living with animals all this time. If you're a human being, how could you be like that? Right, just as you wish, I will disappear. I will walk out of this house with my own 2 feet. My family abandoned me when I was no longer useful for them. I went straight to see my boyfriend. As soon as I saw his face, I burst into tears. When my boyfriend heard my story, he told me to stay at his place for now. Then he searched for a hospice that was affiliated with a large hospital that could combine treatments and healing. It was the perfect place because it was surrounded by nature, especially by people like me who had deep emotional wounds. He told me that he would come and see me every week, so I should relax and just concentrate on my treatment. When I first was admitted to the hospice, I only stayed in bed for a while. What was the use of looking at the beautiful scenery when I was betrayed by my family and felt so confused? I had no desire to live and no reason to live. However, there was a person who came to see me every day and talked to me. It was a woman in the next ward. She said she owned a retail plant nursery in a suburb somewhere and worked on the garden around the hospice. Then, she would come by every day and tell me about the flowers. She told me in detail the legend stories about the flowers and the descriptions of the flowers and how to take care of them. Even though I did not respond to her, she never got tired of me and came every day for a month. Then I opened my mouth for the first time and asked her, "Why do you like flowers?" Then she smiled and said, "Because they bloom, then they wither, then they bloom again." A person's life is the same. As you live, it blooms and it withers. And I believe your life will bloom again for sure. So please survive and stay alive. If you survive, I will give you a great gift. So don't just stay in bed. Let's live by gardening the flowers together with me. I started to cry when she said that. No one in my family ever told me to survive and stay alive, but a woman who was a stranger. I was trying to help me stay alive and came looking for me. Yes, let's stay alive. We should survive and leave this hospice together. After that day, I started to work in the garden along with her around the hospice. Then I learned about the miracles of a human being's hands that made all kinds of flowers, from those that I never saw before to common roses, come alive when touched by that woman. I spent nearly a year with that woman as if we were best friends, working in the flower garden. Then one late fall, when it was windy and cold, that woman left me a letter and passed away. In that letter, she thanked me for my kindness in acting like a loving daughter to her, as she had no children, and asked me to take care of her retail plant nursery. She said her last days were very happy because of me. An attorney came and executed her will, leaving her money in the bank and liquidated assets to a designated facility and her friends. She also left the plant nursery to me. I never expected to receive her plant nursery, but as I promised the woman, I felt a strong will to survive and stay alive. I also gained a new dream to keep the plant nursery going for her and grow the flowers with my own hands. I asked my boyfriend, who came to visit me at the hospice, to get me books related to plants and nurseries. I was engrossed in learning about flowers and trying to remember what the woman had told me about them. A year later, I finally heard from my doctor that I was cured. After being discharged from the hospice, I lived with my boyfriend and visited the plant nursery that I inherited from my friend. It was much larger than I had anticipated, and I became scared if it was okay for me to receive it. The flowers were tended by people whom the woman had entrusted in the meantime. They were the ones who received money from the largest distribution of her inheritance. With their help, I was able to learn the workings of the plant nursery bit by bit. After a few years, it had grown to an enormous size. In the meantime, I got married and gave birth to a daughter, whom I cared for while working at the nursery. Then not too long ago, my family came to see me at the nursery. They saw me on TV as the owner of the plant nursery. When they saw the enormous size of the nursery, they started to latch onto me like hyenas hunting for their prey. They were the worst kind of greedy and selfish people. My mom again brought up the idea of living with her, saying that she preferred a daughter over a son now that she was getting old. Am I crazy to live with her? I have no intention to be a daughter to heartless people like you who abandon a sick daughter. You reap what you sow. And Eddie, have you saved up a lot of money by now? You have a debt to pay me back. And I think a lot of interest has been added by now. Can you handle it? I won't give you a discount, not even by 1 penny. And Jenny, you should have the money prepared since you owe me too. Since you like being cool, don't take your time and just pay it in cash all at once. I was going to hire an attorney to file a lawsuit, but since you came personally like this, it is much easier. I will send the exact amounts within a few days, so each of you should have them ready. And if you are not here to buy flowers, please do not come here. The stench from you guys is harmful to my flowers, so please leave immediately. I had my employees kick my family out of my nursery. Then, I got copies of all the transfers I made from my bank account to my brothers' and sisters' bank accounts, as well as text messages as proof, and sent a message with the total amount they owe me. I didn't necessarily need the money, but I wanted to make sure to get it from them and plan to donate it to cancer patients. I feel it is important to spend money on people who appreciate its value so that it can be meaningful. I believe it is only right to pay back exactly what I received to my family, who took advantage of me and abandoned me for being useless. It is good to sacrifice for your family and others, but you must also be wise, so I hope you will also think about yourself and be happy. Be healthy. Thank you for listening to my story. Please cheer for me and share your words of wisdom in the comment section. Liking and subscribing would be a big help to me. Have a wonderful day.